The night was quiet, but the forest whispered with strange sounds. Wind moved through the tall alien trees, making them groan like voices in the dark. A campfire burned in the middle of the clearing, and near it sat a man named David, a human traveler who had wandered far from the colony. He was sharpening a small blade, his face lit orange by the fire. He thought he was alone until he heard the sound. A branch cracked. A shadow moved between the trees. His hand froze on the blade. Slowly he looked up, his heart beating faster. Something or someone was watching him. The figure stepped forward, shaky and unsteady, as if afraid to be seen. It was a woman, tall and slender, but not human. Her skin glowed faintly under the moonlight, a pale silver tone, almost shimmering. Long strands of white hair fell across her face, hiding her expression. She hugged herself tightly, as if ashamed of her own body. David stood, alert but calm. "Who's there?" he asked, his voice steady. The woman flinched at his words. She lowered her head, avoiding his eyes. Her clothing was little more than torn fabric, barely covering her. She looked fragile, yet there was something powerful hidden in her presence, like a secret she wanted no one to know. I do not belong here," she whispered in a voice that trembled. Her accent was heavy, the words broken but clear. David frowned. He noticed the way she avoided his gaze, the way she pressed her arms around herself. She was not only cold, she was ashamed. Before he could speak again, a small voice came from the tent behind him. "Daddy?" It was his daughter Lily, only 8 years old, rubbing her eyes as she stepped out. She looked at the stranger with wide, innocent eyes. The alien woman turned away quickly, as if Lily's gaze was too much to bear. She muttered something under her breath, her silver skin glowing red with shame. David moved to shield his daughter, cautious, but Lily tugged his hand, whispering, "She's beautiful, Dad." The words fell like a stone into the silence. The alien woman gasped, her whole body trembling. Her eyes, hidden behind her hair, glistened as if she could not believe what she had heard. Beautiful? No one had called her that. Not on her world, not in her tribe. To them she was cursed, marked by her pale skin that glowed in the night. To them, she was a shameful sight, a reminder of weakness. But here, a little human child said the word with such innocence, such truth, that it cut through years of pain. David noticed the change. The woman's breath quickened, her hands dropped slowly from her chest. She turned her face slightly toward the girl, but fear still held her back. "Stay behind me, Lily," David said carefully, his voice protective but not unkind. His eyes never left the stranger. "She might be dangerous." Lily shook her head stubbornly. "She's not." "Look, Dad, she's sad, not scary." The fire crackled. The forest grew silent, as if waiting for what would happen next. The alien woman's lips parted, but no words came out. Tears shone on her cheeks. She wanted to run, to disappear back into the shadows, but her legs refused to move. For the first time in years, someone had looked at her not with disgust, not with fear, but with kindness, and that was more frightening than any blade. David tightened his grip on the knife. But deep inside he wondered, who was this woman? Why did she hide her beauty with shame? And why did his daughter see something in her that no one else could? The firelight flickered between them. 3 souls bound by a moment of truth that none of them yet understood. The night was only beginning. The forest was still alive with whispers, but inside the circle of firelight everything felt heavier, as if the night itself was holding its breath. David kept his blade in his hand, his stance cautious. The alien woman stood frozen at the edge of the clearing, half in shadow, half in flame. Her silver skin shimmered with every heartbeat, betraying her nervousness. Lily, small and fearless, tilted her head, her eyes bright. "Why are you sad?" she asked softly, breaking the silence. The alien flinched as though struck. She stepped back, her bare feet pressing against the cold earth. Her voice was hoarse, fragile. "Do not look at me, child. I am unworthy." David narrowed his eyes. "Unworthy of what?" he demanded, his tone sharper now. He was not cruel, but he would not risk his daughter's safety. The woman wrapped her arms tighter around herself. "Unworthy of being seen. My kind cast me out. They said I was broken, shamed, cursed." Her voice cracked, every word heavy with pain. Lily tugged on her father's sleeve. "But she's not broken, Daddy. She's pretty. Look at her hair. It's like moonlight." David almost sighed. His daughter's innocence was both a blessing and a danger. Children did not see threats the way adults did. Still, he could not ignore the tears in the stranger's eyes. The woman stepped forward slightly into the firelight now. David saw her face clearly for the first time, delicate with eyes that glowed faintly violet in the light. But her beauty was wrapped in misery like a flower crushed before it could bloom. "They feared me," she whispered. "They feared the light of my skin, said it was a sign of weakness. They hid me away. When I grew older, they threw me out. I have wandered since." "Unwanted?" David's jaw tightened. He had seen cruelty before, but something about the way she spoke, it struck deep. He lowered his knife slightly, but did not sheath it. Lily, however, stepped forward without hesitation. She held out her hand. "Come sit by the fire. It's warm." The alien woman recoiled at first, staring at the child's hand as though it was a weapon sharper than David's blade. Her breath shook. No one had ever reached out to her before, not like this. "You should not," she whispered. David moved quickly, pulling Lily back. "Stay here," he said firmly. He looked at the woman. "If you mean no harm, then sit. If you do, leave now." The fire popped, sending sparks into the air. For a long moment, the woman seemed trapped between running into the darkness or stepping into the circle of light. Finally, her legs gave in. Slowly, carefully, she sank to the ground opposite David and Lily, the fire between them. Her hands trembled as she pulled her torn cloth tighter around herself. She kept her eyes low, never daring to look directly at David. "Do you have a name?" David asked at last. The woman hesitated, then spoke quietly. "Eris," Lily smiled. "That's pretty. I'm Lily, and this is my dad." Eris's lips twitched, almost a smile, but shame pulled it away. "Do not call me pretty. It is not true. It cannot be true." But David caught the way her voice broke, as if she wanted to believe it, even while rejecting it. The fire crackled again, louder this time, as though mocking the silence that followed. The night creatures outside the clearing drew closer, their eyes glowing faintly in the dark. David felt it first, the sense that they were not alone anymore. He tightened his grip on the knife. Eris's violet eyes flicked toward the trees, fear flashing across her face. Something was moving out there, watching. The fragile peace at the fire was about to be shattered. The fire burned low, throwing long shapes across the clearing. David's eyes locked on the trees, every nerve sharp with alertness. He had spent years in wild places, and he knew the sound of quiet footsteps when he heard them. Whoever was out there was trying hard to stay unseen. Lily leaned closer to him, clutching his sleeve. "Daddy, what's that noise?" David didn't answer. He raised a finger to his lips, signaling silence. His other hand held the knife steady, the blade catching a faint glimmer of firelight. Across from him, Eris had gone rigid. Her violet eyes were wide, glowing faintly like twin lanterns. Her breath came fast and she whispered only one word: "Hunters." David frowned. "What kind of hunters?" Eris's voice shook. "Not beasts, my people. They track me. They always track me." David cursed under his breath. The woman had brought danger with her. But before he could speak again, the brush at the edge of the clearing rustled violently. Shapes emerged, tall and broad, with armor that reflected the moonlight. Alien warriors stepped forward, their weapons glowing with a cold blue light. Lily gasped, clutching her father tighter. David placed himself in front of her, his stance protective. The lead warrior pointed at Eris. His voice was harsh, filled with contempt. "There she is, the shame of our kind, the broken one." Eris lowered her head, trembling. She did not fight back. She did not speak. It was as if she had already accepted their words as truth. David's jaw clenched. He didn't know these aliens, didn't know their rules. But he knew cruelty when he saw it. "Stay back," he growled. The warrior laughed. "A human defends her? Fool, you do not understand what she is." "She's not yours to take," David said firmly. The warrior stepped closer, his weapon humming with energy. "She belongs to no one. She is nothing." Lily's voice cut through the tension like a blade. "She's not nothing. She's beautiful." The clearing fell silent. Even the warriors paused, their faces shifting in surprise. No one had ever spoken of Eris that way, not in front of her people. Eris's chest rose and fell sharply. Tears gathered in her eyes, but this time they were not only from shame, they were from a spark of hope she could not control. The lead warrior sneered. "A child's words mean nothing." David's patience snapped. "They mean everything," he said coldly. The warriors moved as if to strike, but in that moment Eris stood. Her legs shook, but she did not fall. She raised her chin for the first time, her violet eyes glowing brighter. "No more," she said, her voice trembling yet strong. "I am not broken." "Not tonight." The warriors froze at her defiance. David glanced at her, surprised. This was not the same trembling woman who had stepped into his camp. Still, the danger was real. The lead warrior raised his weapon again, anger flashing across his face. "Then you will die with them." David stepped forward, knife in hand, ready to fight despite the odds. He knew he could not win against armored warriors with energy weapons. But he would not let them take her. The fire crackled louder, sparks flying high. Shadows stretched long and fierce, dancing like spirits across the clearing. Lily's small voice rose once more, soft but unshakable. "She's not broken. She's ours." The word stunned even David. He looked down at his daughter, then back at Eris. The alien woman's eyes filled with something new, something stronger than shame. The night was about to break open, and no one in that clearing knew who would survive the storm. The clearing seemed to shrink as the warriors stepped closer. Their armor glowed faintly, humming with strange energy. Each step crushed the ground. Each movement carried the weight of power. David felt Lily tremble against his side, but he kept his knife raised. His body was tense, his heart steady. He had fought before, and though he had no armor, he would not back down. Eris stood behind him, her silver skin catching the firelight. For years she had bowed her head, hidden her face, accepted every insult. But Lily's words echoed in her mind. She's beautiful. That single truth burned brighter than her shame. The lead warrior snarled, pointing his weapon. "Step aside, human. She does not belong to your kind." David's voice was calm but sharp. "Then maybe she belongs with mine." A ripple of shock went through the group. To claim someone unwanted was unthinkable to them. They saw her as broken, unworthy. Yet here was a human, small, fragile compared to their strength, daring to say she was not nothing. The warrior growled and lunged forward. The weapon in his hand flared blue, slicing through the air. David dodged, pulling Lily back with one arm. Sparks flew where the blade struck the earth. Eris cried out, her voice cracking. "Stop, do not hurt them." But the warriors did not stop. Another charged from the side. David swung his knife, the steel clashing against the glowing weapon. The impact rattled his arm, sending pain shooting up his muscles. Still, he did not let go. The warriors laughed. "You think you can fight us with human steel?" David spat into the dirt. "Steel is enough." For a moment it seemed he would be cut down. But then Eris moved. Fear clung to her body, but something deeper pushed her forward. She raised her hand and suddenly light pulsed from her skin, silver blinding, alive. The warriors stumbled back, shielding their eyes. The firelight dimmed compared to the glow pouring from her. It was not weakness, it was power she had been told to hide. David turned, shocked as Eris's body shone brighter. Her violet eyes burned with defiance. "This is why they feared me," she said, her voice trembling but strong. "Not because I am broken, but because I shine where they do not." The lead warrior hissed in fury. "You are an abomination." "No," Eris said, her glow reflecting in Lily's awed eyes. "I am alive." The clearing erupted into chaos. Warriors tried to push forward, but the silver light forced them back. Their weapons faltered, their aim uncertain. For the first time, David saw fear in their eyes. Seizing the moment, David pulled Lily behind him and shouted, "Move, Eris! Keep it burning!" Eris's glow spread wider, wrapping the firelight in her brilliance. The shadows in the trees fled. The warrior stumbled, confused. The power she had hidden for years now became her shield, but the effort was tearing at her. Sweat rolled down her face, her body trembling under the strain. She had never unleashed this much before. David saw it and stepped closer to her. "Hold it together, Eris, just a little longer." She glanced at him, shocked by his voice, steady, supportive, not mocking. She had never heard such words before. Lily's small hands clapped together, her voice rising. "You can do it." "Don't stop, Eris. You're beautiful when you shine." Those words cut deeper than any weapon. Eris's glow flared even stronger, lighting up the whole clearing like dawn. The warriors staggered back, growling in frustration. "This is not over, cursed one." The leader spat. "We will return." And then, one by one, they slipped into the trees, their glowing weapons fading into the distance. Silence returned. The forest sighed as though relieved. Eris collapsed to her knees, her glow fading until only faint silver remained. David knelt beside her, catching her before she fell into the dirt. Her voice was weak, trembling. Why do you help me? I bring danger. David looked at her, his expression hard but honest. Because my daughter sees something in you that even you don't. And maybe. She's right. Eris's eyes shimmered with tears. For the first time, the word beautiful didn't feel like a lie. But deep in the forest, the hunters were not gone for good. They would return. And next time, the fight would not be so easy. The forest was quiet again, but the peace felt fragile, like glass ready to break. David threw more wood into the fire, the flames rising higher. He kept glancing toward the trees, waiting for another attack. Lily sat close, her small hands wrapped around a cup of warm broth. Her eyes kept drifting to Eris. Eris sat apart from them, her knees pulled up to her chest. The silver glow on her skin had dimmed until it was almost gone. She looked drained, her breath shallow. Her torn cloth hung loosely on her thin frame, and she seemed smaller than before, as if the weight of her shame was crushing her again. David studied her carefully. She had saved them by unleashing her strange light, but she looked more broken now than she had when she first arrived. You pushed them back, he said, breaking the silence. That was no curse. That was power. Eris shook her head violently, her hair falling across her face. You do not understand. My people hate me for this. They call me weak, unnatural. The light is not strength, it is shame. It marks me as wrong. Lily set her cup down and stood. She walked right to Eris and placed her small hand on the alien woman's trembling arm. You're not wrong. You're special. Eris's breath caught. Her violet eyes lifted slowly, meeting Lily's innocent gaze. The child's words cut through her doubts, but the chains of years were hard to break. No one ever said that to me, she whispered. Not once. David's voice was steady. Maybe that's why you needed to hear it now. But Eris pulled away, shaking her head. You should not trust me. The hunters will return. They always return, and when they do, you and your child will die because of me. David leaned closer, his eyes sharp. I decide who I trust, and I don't leave people behind. The fire snapped, sparks flying upward. Eris stared into the flames, her expression torn between fear and longing. She had been abandoned so many times, told she was worthless, hidden like a wound her people wanted to forget. Could she really believe this man's words? Before she could answer, a distant howl echoed through the forest. Not an animal's cry, something else. A signal. Eris's body went rigid. They are calling, gathering. David's jaw tightened. He reached for his pack, pulling out a small pulse pistol. Old, scratched, but still functional. He set it on his lap. Then we'll be ready. Eris's eyes widened at his calmness. You cannot fight them all. They have ships, weapons, numbers. David gave a short, humorless smile. I've been outnumbered before. Lily crawled back to her father's side, whispering, Daddy. I don't want her to go. If they take her, she'll be sad again. Eris closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. She had never mattered enough for anyone to say such things. Yet here was a child begging her father to protect her. Her heart ached. You should not risk your lives for me, she said, her voice breaking. I am nothing. David's tone turned hard like steel. Stop saying that. My daughter sees you. I see you, and if your people can't, then maybe they're blind. Eris looked at him, stunned. No one had ever spoken for her, not like this. For the first time, the firelight reflected not just shame in her eyes, but a small, fragile spark of hope. But the forest gave no mercy. More howls rose in the distance, louder this time, spreading in every direction. The hunters were closing in, and this time they would not leave until she was gone. Or dead. David gripped his pistol. Eris's silver skin flickered faintly as she stood, torn between fleeing into the darkness or staying by the fire. Lily reached out and grabbed her hand. Don't run, please, stay with us. Eris's body trembled. For years she had run, but maybe, just maybe, this time she didn't have to. The choice hung heavy in the firelight, and the hunters were almost here. The forest no longer whispered. It roared with footsteps, branches snapped, and the ground shook with heavy boots. Blue lights flickered between the trees as the hunters closed in, their voices sharp and cruel. David rose to his feet, pistol in one hand, knife in the other. His face was set, calm but ready. Beside him, Eris trembled, torn between fear and anger. Her skin flickered with faint silver light pulsing with her heartbeat. They will not stop, she whispered. They will not rest until I am gone. David glanced at her. Then we don't give them what they want. Lily clung to Eris's hand, refusing to let go. Her voice was small but filled with certainty. "We'll fight together." The first hunter burst into the clearing, his armor gleaming. He raised his glowing blade, shouting in his native tongue. Behind him, more shadows poured in, surrounding the fire. The leader stepped forward again, his face twisted with hatred. "There she is, the shame of our kind, hiding behind humans, pathetic." Eris lowered her head, shame pressing heavy on her shoulders. But Lily's small hand squeezed hers, grounding her. The child's words echoed in her mind. "You're beautiful when you shine." Something inside Eris cracked. She lifted her head slowly, her violet eyes glowing brighter than before. "No," she said, her voice carrying across the clearing. "I am not shame." "Not anymore," the leader sneered. Empty words. David fired his pistol. The pulse shot seared through the night, striking the ground at the warrior's feet. Sparks exploded, dirt scattering. The hunters snarled, raising their weapons. The clearing erupted into chaos. One hunter swung at David, energy blade slicing the air. David ducked low, slashing with his knife. Sparks flew as steel met glowing metal. His pistol fired again, the recoil jarring his arm. Another hunter fell back, injured but not defeated. Eris stood frozen for a moment, her body trembling. She could run. She could hide. But Lily's frightened eyes locked on her, pleading. "Eris!" David shouted, blocking another strike. "Now or never." The words struck like lightning. Eris's skin burst into silver light, brighter and stronger than before. The glow spread around her like waves, blinding the hunters. They staggered, shields flickering. The leader roared in fury. "Abomination!" He charged at her, blade raised high. Eris lifted her hands. Her light surged outward, wrapping the clearing in silver fire. The blade struck her glow but did not cut. Instead, the weapon shuddered, sparks dancing across its edge and then cracked under the pressure. The leader stumbled back, his weapon broken. His eyes widened, fear flashing for the first time. David saw the opening and struck. His blade slashed across the leader's armor, sending him crashing into the dirt. The other hunters hesitated, blinded by Eris's brilliance. Their certainty faltered. She was not weak. She was not cursed. She was powerful, more powerful than they could face without fear. Lily's voice rang out above the chaos. "See, she's not broken. She's shining." The hunters growled, torn between retreat and rage. The leader, groaning on the ground, shouted through clenched teeth. "Fall back." "We regroup." One by one, the hunters vanished into the trees, their glowing weapons fading into the dark. The clearing fell silent once more. The fire still burned, but the light belonged to Eris. She stood in the center, her body glowing like a star, her breath heavy but strong. David lowered his pistol, sweat dripping down his brow. He looked at her with new respect. "You saved us," he said. Eris shook her head weakly. "No, you saved me. You made me believe." Lily hugged her tightly, ignoring the heat of the glow. "You're not nothing, Eris, you're family." Tears filled Eris's violet eyes. For years she had hidden in the shadows, hated and hunted. Now for the first time she stood in the firelight, not ashamed but proud. But deep in the forest the hunters were not defeated. They were regrouping, planning, waiting. The night was not over, and the final battle was yet to come. The forest was alive again, louder than before. The hunters had not retreated in defeat. They had only pulled back to gather strength. Now their horns echoed through the night, sharp and hateful. Dozens of blue lights moved between the trees, circling, waiting to strike. David tightened the grip on his pistol. His breathing was steady, though his body screamed with exhaustion. Lily huddled close behind him, but her small eyes never left Eris. Eris stood taller than ever. Her silver glow had dimmed after the last clash, but it still flickered across her skin, alive, unbroken. She knew she could not outshine an army forever. Her body trembled under the weight of fear and doubt. "I should run," she whispered. "If I go, they may leave you." David snapped his head toward her. "You run, they win, and I don't raise my daughter to watch someone give up on themselves." Lily tugged at Eris's hand, her voice steady for one so young. "Don't go. You belong here, with us." The words struck deeper than any weapon. Belong. Eris had never belonged anywhere, but now a child said she had a place, a family. The trees exploded as the hunters stormed back into the clearing. Their armor blazed blue, their blades humming, twice as many as before. The leader, battered but alive, pointed at Eris. His voice was venom. End it, no more shame. No more cursed light. They rushed forward. David fired, his pistol blasting searing bolts into the attackers. One fell, another stumbled, but more came. His knife flashed as he blocked a strike, sparks flying. He fought like a wall, one man against a tide. Eris's chest heaved, her skin glowing brighter as fear and courage warred inside her. If she unleashed all her light, she might burn herself out. She might die. But if she didn't, David and Lily would fall. Her choice came in a single heartbeat. She stepped forward, spreading her arms wide. Her body flared, silver fire pouring from her skin like a storm of light. The clearing vanished in brilliance. Hunters screamed, blinded. Their weapons faltered, armor cracking under the force, but the light did not only burn, it revealed. The hunters saw their reflections in the glow, the cruelty in their faces, the hatred they carried. Some faltered, lowering their blades. Others staggered back in confusion. The leader pushed forward, roaring, but even he shielded his eyes. David turned, stunned, as the glow wrapped around him and Lily, warm instead of harsh. It was not destruction, it was protection. Eris was not cursed. She was chosen to carry something greater than fear. Her voice rang through the storm, steady and unshakable. I am not broken. I am not shame. I am light, the leader screamed, slashing wildly, but his blade shattered against her glow. The impact sent him sprawling to the ground. His army, blinded and broken, scattered into the trees, retreating at last, not from weakness but from fear. When the last of them fled, the clearing fell silent. The fire burned low, almost drowned by the silver radiance still pouring from Eris. Then slowly the glow faded. Eris dropped to her knees, gasping for air. Sweat glistened on her silver skin. She expected to collapse alone, to fall into the dirt unseen, but David was already there, catching her before she hit the ground. His arms were steady, his voice low. Easy, you did it. Lily wrapped her small arms around Eris, holding her tightly. You were so beautiful, she whispered. Just like I said. Tears filled Eris's violet eyes. Her voice broke. No one ever called me that and meant it. David met her gaze. Then let this be the first of many. For the first time in her life, Eris smiled without shame. The weight she had carried for years cracked apart, replaced by something fragile but real. Hope. The hunters would come again one day. The world would not stop being cruel, but tonight around the fire she was no longer cursed, no longer unwanted. She was family, and that truth could never be broken.